Hey. 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 Hey is honestly the most difficult part I've found of this whole video thing so far. And I've done like 10 hays. Moving on, I'm just going to continue with this one. I had this idea to make a YouTube video for two reasons. One being that I moved to London from Australia about 9 weeks ago, and I basically don't have very many friends yet. Yet being the key word. But this means that especially at night time when my friends are asleep, I don't have that many people to talk to. And I'm babysitting a lot, so I'm home. So I think it would be really good for me to have a constructive hobby. Instead of just watching other people talk on YouTube, why don't I do it myself? Number two, I feel like I have so much to tell you, people back at home, and maybe whoever else is watching. Often that's funny, but you know, like I can't always tell all of you singly. And so this way, I can give you, it sounds very vain, suggesting that you're all going to want an update, but I can just, let you all in on what I'm doing. Today I hate this introduction thing, so I'm moving straight on. I'm going to talk about the top 5 mistakes that I have made so far living in London. Most of them in the first week. Number 1, they're in no particular order, but number 1 would be the footpath. We drive on the same side of the road here as we do back home, but we walk on the opposite side of the footpath, which is really confusing because it's so easy to just naturally go to the other side when they're driving on the same side of the road, of course. So I'm walking Harry, who's the baby, in the pram about 2 days after I get here. This bike rider is like coming along, and I'm just thinking he's going to swerve. Because it's so much easier for him to swerve. It's really hard to swerve with a buggy. We literally collided. He like nearly fell off his bike and had this big tumble. Harry was hysterical because, a bike just ran into him. He didn't get hurt. But obviously that would scare the living daylights out of you as a baby. Like, think about how big a bike is in comparison. I'm just like standing here like, what an idiot. Why was he riding on the wrong side of the road and why didn't he swerve? Path. Anyway, it was kind of like this quick awkward sorry, and he hurried off. 3 minutes later, we're walking and there's another bike rider coming. London is full of bike riders, and I just freak out and I'm like, what do I do? So I just pushed right in the middle of the footpath, and then this bike rider's coming and he's like looking at me like he looked about 40. He's like, are you gonna, what's going on? And I just like stood there. And he literally got off his bike, walked his bike around me, just standing there awkwardly, and then got back on his bike, which is really embarrassing. And that is how I learnt that we walk on the opposite side of the footpath. Same with the tube escalators, like slow and fast lane, but that's a lot easier because you just follow the leader. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm going to stick with like road rules. And I didn't have very good road sense back home either, actually, so I was always going to be a lost cause for this. But no one waits for the light to go green when they cross the road here. I must be the least confident road crosser in the whole of London. And so everyone here is just like powering through the road, even when there's cars going. And I am like timidly, especially with a pram, I just really don't think that it's worth jaywalking when you have a pram with a live human in it. And so I'm like standing there waiting for pressing the buzzer. This was the first day I got here, so I'm so jet lagged. I like pushed the buzzer to make it go green button, and these cars are like standing there still. All these people have crossed, even though it wasn't green. These cars are like still looking at me like, I'm gonna walk, and I'm just like not walking. Then this car driver beeps his horn and looks at me like, walk. And I'm like, it's not green. And then I'd committed, so even though it was very obvious that it was okay for me to walk, I was like, I can't walk now, I just look like weak, I've got to commit to I wait for the green. So I'm like standing there awkwardly like, and then another car beeps, and he's like, move, and I'm like, this is just so embarrassing. But I don't know why it really mattered, because they weren't driving anyway. It made actually no difference to them. Anyway, it goes green, I'm like awkwardly walking, and I look over, and this guy's like, clapping. And that was really embarrassing. But that was an introduction for me, a brutal introduction into the fact that no one here crosses the road correctly. And it quite scares me. In fact, there's a main road near where I live, and there's just no crossing at all. You've just got to, that's the only way you cross it, is to dive, and it takes me forever. Like, I can be standing there for 5 minutes. But my new trick, actually, finding like a businessman, huddling to him and crossing when he crosses, well, not actually huddling, but probably close enough to make him feel uncomfortable. Because I don't think the businessman will be silly. That's a stereotype if I ever heard one. Probably an incorrect one too. Number 3, I have for you, cheese platter etiquette. I love cheese, which isn't that necessary to this story now I think about it, but I do love cheese. And over in Australia, we have a cheese platter before dinner. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that's definitely what my family did. And so you go to someone's house, the cheese will already usually be out, or they'll put it out as you arrive, and you eat it, graze on it for a few hours, and then you have dinner. Here, dinner is served first, which actually makes more sense because you're often quite full when dinner time's ready. But here, dinner is served first, and then the cheese platter comes out. Now, I didn't know this, and about 3 days in, I was really chucked into the deep end. The family I'm living with had a party, and I really, not that like comfortable yet, so I just really wanted something to do. So I grabbed this cheese platter like as soon as everyone arrives, and I'm like, hey guys, I'll take the cheese platter out. So I take the cheese platter out. No one touches it, except me, who's like snacking on the cheese. And then midway through, the grandma says to me, oh, you're Australian, that's why you brought the cheese platter out first. We don't do that here. And I was like, how embarrassing. Everyone here has literally looked at me and thought this girl is way too keen on her cheese. But it turns out, the point is, we have our cheese platter first, they have their cheese platter after. Another mistake. Probably not that important to most people, but just to someone who really appreciates cheese. Number 4, the word pudding. Dessert over here, so they use the word pudding instead of dessert over here, which just blows my mind. It just sounds so, what do they call like pudding? It's like, it'd be like calling all dessert ice cream in my mind. And then it's like, what's your favorite ice cream? Oh, I'd say cake, Anyway, they asked me what my favorite pudding is. I don't really like pudding at all. And I'm just like racking my brain. Again, really early into knowing them, so you don't really feel like you can say, oh, I don't like pudding. Now, I mean, I love them, so I just feel like I hate pudding. But I'm like, only pudding I could think of. So I was like, Christmas pudding? The next day, they're making this big effort to like get to know me, and they bring home this big Christmas style pudding, like this fruity, spicy one. And I was like, crap, I don't even like Christmas pudding, and why are they so into this pudding thing? Anyway, we're eating it, and Dad says something like, well, my favorite pudding is chocolate caramel cake. I'm like, what? I'm an idiot. I could have had any dessert, and they would have gone and got it because it's my favorite, and I had Christmas pudding. That was annoying. And I like the word dessert better. Number 5, the last one, is a word that I've definitely used incorrectly over here. So I went out for dinner with someone, and I mentioned to him that back home, I don't know, it was in context, a story. I dogged someone, to which he pulls this like face and like drinks a bit of water and keeps going. Dogging back home, if for some reason someone that's not Australian watches this, means like ditching. So he's just like, okay. And then, I totally forgot about it. And then later on, we're like walking out of the restaurant, and I said, oh yeah, but he dogged me. This guy's just like, huh. And then we're just like silent, he didn't say anything. And then after about a minute of us just like walking, it was like the first time we hadn't spoken for that, like the conversation was good until I mentioned the dog me thing. And then he goes, okay, can I just say something? I was like, yeah. He's like, what do you mean when you say someone dogged you? And I was like, they ditched me. Anyway, he was relieved. Turns out dogging, actually, you know what? If you're interested, Google it, because I'm not going to tell you what it means. But it's not a very nice thing. And I've been going around telling people that I enjoy dogging. Well, not that I enjoy dogging, but that I partake in dogging. Okay, so there's my 5 mistakes that I've made, top mistakes that I've made in England so far, which really aren't that crucial, but they're a little bit embarrassing. And I would like you to tell me if you enjoyed this video, because I would like to keep doing them. They're quite fun. I mean, I've done this about 1,000 times today already, so that's how I know it's quite fun. And I think that it could be something that I could get really like keen on and like, oh yeah, I've got a new topic today and like I got a prop, a hat. Probably won't get a prop ever. Anyway, so just let me know if you think that this is a good idea, and I will keep making them. And if you're good friends with me, let me know if you think it's a really bad idea and I won't make it again. I don't know how to close this. Thanks. If you've watched this far, thanks.